Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a very, very special edition of Wrestling with the Future Presents Talk is Cheap. Tonight, unchecked wrestling egos. And to walk us through this muck and mire and I want to be kind when I start off the show. The minefield of bullshit from professional wrestlers. I have one of the best in the business, a guy I've known for about 20 years or so. Mr. Michael Murphy, Armageddon. Hello, Michael. How are you?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Wrestling with the Future.
And tonight, bringing us around to even up the panel tonight is my co-host each and every week. She is Amelia Pitbull Chapman. Hello, Amelia. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fired the hell up.
Well, tell me what happened.
Fired up. Tonight, unchecked wrestling egos. Let me tell you how this night started, Michael. My night started last night.
Yes.
I booked Roddy Piper's daughter, Teal Piper, to be on the show. I booked her 3 weeks ago. She confirmed 3 times with me that she would be on the show tonight. Even confirmed it as late as 6 o'clock last night. At 6:20, she says something came up. Let's reschedule. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. When you're booked for me and you're booked for, let's put it this way. If I booked you for a show, Mike, and you decided at 20 minutes before your match starts, I'm not going to go on tonight because something came up on the way here. Are you going to 86 the show, or are you going to honor your commitment to the show and deal with your personal stuff later?
First off, if I'm booked on a show, I never 86 a show unless it's like a family emergency or something. If I'm booked on a show, I do the show no matter what. That's just the rule of wrestling.
Exactly. And so it's bad enough that it happened once, but it happened twice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you what happened. I booked Teal Piper, by all accounts, a nice lady. All of a sudden, 20 minutes after confirming with me that she would be here tonight, and I'm calling you out, Teal. So if you and your boyfriend want to get mad at me, I don't really give a shit. Okay? Just deal with it. Here's the thing. You made a commitment to this show. Okay? You're not getting paid for this show. You knew that going into it. You make a commitment to be here, you stay here. If you have a problem with honoring your commitments, get the fuck out of the wrestling business. I can't imagine your father ever 86ing somebody because he didn't feel like showing up. Speaking of which, let's talk about some unchecked egos in this business. Miranda Gordy, who's been a guest on this show before. Okay. Miranda Gordy wants $75 all of a sudden now to do a show. First of all, Miranda, before you start charging people to do a podcast, learn how to fucking work. Okay? That's a start. You know, just because you got your father's name doesn't mean you can work. Because I got news for you, babe. You can't. Okay? You can't. Now, number 3. Last but not least, number 3. If you're going to make a commitment to a show, a promoter, a group, a civic organization, honor your commitment. That's something Mr. Murphy and I egregiously hate when people do not honor their commitment, because there is, sadly, Michael, sadly, Amelia, there is no honor left in the wrestling business. Honor has gone by the wayside. And tonight, I'm taking stabs and shots at everybody.
Exactly.
Because I'm pissed off and I'm done with it. You know, you heard me announce last night we were done with the wrestling business.
Absolutely.
This is why. This shit is why.
Exactly.
Okay? I spent 45 years involved in and around professional wrestling, mostly in, okay? Understand something. I made my living in this business. I got paid from this business to do what I do best. I can't say that for a lot of people. There are people today, and I shake my head. I shudder to think where this business has devolved into.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the days when wrestling was wrestling? What happened to when athletes looked like athletes? And men were men, and tough men were barrel-chested guys with hair on their chest and had a set of balls.
Angelo, those days, the times when, I came up in the business, the time when you were in the business, the days of guys like, and I've mentioned their names before, guys like, Dusty Rhodes, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, the Four Horsemen, Dick the Bruiser, the list goes on and on. Dick Slater, got professional wrestlers. Those days are gone. They're dead.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
The commitment to the business that was what we had then has definitely changed. It's not the same now as it was back then.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've already laid that groundwork. You and I have discussed it at length.
Yeah.
It's become more commercialized. If you can sell a pair of sneakers or a cheeseburger or something on a show, and you can put a face to it, and that's where the money's going to be made.
Yeah.
I personally think that Vince McMahon took his father's business and killed it.
Exactly.
Absolutely killed it.
Destroyed it beyond all recognition.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He did what the military calls, and you know this, Michael, the military calls this a FUBAR. Fucked up beyond all recognition.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Absolutely.
Yep, because you said it correctly. It's professional wrestling, and now it's just wrestling.
Amelia, talk to me about that. Where did it go off the rail for you?
To me, it actually after like the 80s and everything, and like you said, after Vince McMahon took it over, the WCW, it pretty much after that, it just went downhill. Because, like he said it perfectly, professional wrestling is now just wrestling.
You know what? It's interesting, Mike, that she points to Vince taking over WCW because she's not alone in that. There are a lot of people.
No, lots of people feel that.
Yeah,
I myself am one of them.
Yeah, I was going to say you and I are among those people. I think you know me, Michael. You know me a long time. I've always had the adage: if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
The problem is he took something that wasn't broke and proceeded to break it by trying to fix something that wasn't broke.
Yes.
That's what happens if you try to fix something that's not broke.
And
go ahead, Michael.
Not only that, Angela, but you got to remember something. Back then, it was professional wrestling. See, I myself, I was a professional wrestler. I am not, nor have I ever been, a sports entertainer.
No.
Okay, and that's what professional wrestling, air quotes, is now. It's sports entertainment. There's a big difference between pro wrestling and sports entertainment.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and thank you for pointing that out. We pointed that out in great detail and great candor last night. If you haven't seen last night's show, please watch it and go right to the end of the show. You will not be disappointed, I assure you. Leon Barfield says Vince killed wrestling. Leon, you will not get an argument from me, my friend. You will not get an argument from me. Vince absolutely decimated professional wrestling. Leon, you're a fan. Let me ask you a question. Where did it go off the rail for you, Leon? And we'll, while you're answering that, we'll talk here amongst ourselves.
Right.
So, Murph, talk to me about, in your opinion, where it went off the rail. I know where it went off for Amelia. She says WCW and Vince's takeover.
I think we lost sound.
Yeah, Mike, get closer to your microphone, my friend.
I can't hear him.
Yeah. With Mike, we your
There
mic.
he is.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, your microphone was cutting out.
Then it went to this PG rated crap that they put out there. It's just a bad product. It's a bad joke. You know,
Yeah.
Professional wrestling used to have storylines.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Behind, something you could feel.
Michael, it's interesting that you're saying that because Leon is chiming in with that. He says, for him, it went off the rails, the WWF in the 1980s with the so-called hee-haw skits they did. And he's absolutely right. You know? And I understand, Mike, exactly where you're going with this. One of the problems is, and follow me on this, one of the problems is the business has devolved so far into the abyss of the evolutionary process, you can't even recognize it anymore as wrestling. It's not entertainment. It's not sport. It certainly is not sport entertainment because there's nothing sport about it and there's nothing entertainment about it.
It's not.
So what happened to wrestling effectively, in my opinion, professional wrestling is now and will always be dead, barring some great renaissance from some outside the box thinking person that's not named McMahon.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Exactly what I was thinking. It's like you were in my mind saying what I was going to say exactly. Wrestling is dead to me now.
I'll tell you what. I've seen one professional wrestler out there, and Angelo, I've said this to you before. This kid has it.
Yeah.
He can work. He can talk. He can cut a promo.
Yeah.
Not something that a lot of wrestlers can do. All three.
Right.
MJF.
MJF is a remarkable kid.
Yes.
He's like gifted with the soul of an old school wrestler. He really is, Michael. I think you would agree with that. You know?
Oh, definitely.
Amelia, what do you think of MJF? Michael and I really like him a lot.
Yeah, he's really great. Really great persona. Great persona. Like, you know, you give him the mic just like, you know, you did the wrestlers like Ric Flair, you know, talk the talk, walk the walk. They can do it.
That's exactly right. The problem I have with MJF, and it's the only problem I have with MJF, is he talks too much.
Yes.
His promos are too long. And that's
a
problem.
But you gotta admit, they keep you on the edge of your seat.
No argument, brother. No argument from me. Absolutely. But let me ask you, Mike. You and I have talked about this before, and you and I have both worked with guys that spend way too much time on the mic and don't know how to work a mic. And you know who I'm talking about too.
I'm not going to say any names.
Okay, well, I will then. Tony Thorne.
Okay, I will agree with you. I've
I'll
I've
tell you.
worked I've
I'll tell you
I've
why.
worked Thorn before, and you know, it was a long time ago, but you know,
Here's the
it
thing.
wasn't the best match in the world.
Well, yeah, yeah. So here's the thing, then, Mike. We're talking about unchecked egos in the wrestling business.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that we have a generation, and it really troubles me greatly. And I'm not saying this, for dramatic effect. I mean, for real. It really, really troubles me greatly that we have a generation of 18, 19-year-old so-called wrestlers
Mm-hmm.
that are already selling promo pictures and videotapes before they ever have a fucking match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My question is, what are they selling? If you haven't had a match, what are you selling, kid?
Exactly.
Because I asked that to a guy. I said, how many matches have you had? Well, I haven't had one yet. Well, what's on that damn tape you're selling? Oh, those are people I like.
Oh my
Really?
gosh.
Really? Do me a favor. Go home, take your tape with you, and watch it. Maybe you'll learn something. Because the $3,000 that you spent for wrestling school didn't pay off, brother.
You know, when I was coming up in the business when I first started,
Incredible.
one thing I was told in the locker room: go in the locker room, shake hands with everybody, introduce yourself, then put on your gear, work out your match with who you're working, then sit down and shut up and watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Shut the mouth
learn
and open the ears.
and, you know, ask questions, which a lot of these kids don't do nowadays. Nowadays, these kids, their egos show up to the locker room 20 minutes before they do.
Yeah. Here's the problem I have. And you and I have talked about this. Amelia, this is one of my biggest pet peeves. And you've not heard this yet.
Okay.
But one of my biggest pet peeves, and Mike will tell you, is a guy spending 45 minutes to work out a 6-minute match. That's a problem. When you're spending more time working out your match than the match is, you better find something else to do for a living, because wrestling is not where you want to be.
Exactly.
In my day, when we got into the ring, we called it in the circle.
Yes.
Okay? That squared circle was where everything started and finished. You walked into the building that night. You didn't know who you were going to work until you walked into the building. And sometimes you didn't know until just before the match.
Give me a beginning, a turnaround, and the ending.
That's it.
The rest, we work out in the ring.
There you go. There you go.
And now it's all choreographed.
High five on that. Absolutely.
You know, you go in the locker room, you find out who you're working, you tell them, hey, okay, you're over tonight. Give me the beginning. Okay, this will be the beginning. What's the turnaround? Okay, that's the turnaround. Then you take it home. Yeah, you give me the ending. You give me your finishing move, and you take it home. The rest will call out in the ring. Yeah, and you wait for the ref to tell you, okay, guys, wrap it up.
Exactly. So I have serious issues with the way things are done now. I think it's no secret to anyone that's watched Wrestling with the Future. Michael, how long have we been doing Wrestling with the Future? 4 years now?
Say that again?
We're doing Wrestling with the Future 4 years now?
We have four years now, give or take.
Okay. In all this time, if you know me as well as I think you do, what is the one thing that I harp on almost constantly?
As far as like a wrestling show or
my biggest pet peeve in the business. My biggest pet peeve in the business. Let's see if you know me as well as
People
you
not
do.
people not being professional.
There you go. Be a pro. And that's
Mhm.
how I started out this show tonight.
Mhm.
Teal Piper, be a pro. Honor your commitments. Miranda
Mhm.
Gordy, if you're going to charge people money, learn to work first. Okay? Because you can't.
Mhm.
You're gonna hit somebody up $75 for a podcast? The last podcast you did for me, young lady, was in your fucking car. Okay? At least go inside at a desk and sit down somewhere.
Mhm.
Or at your kitchen table, if you have one. If not, stand on a milk crate, or and scream at the moon as long
Mhm.
as someone can hear you.
Right.
Damn, lady,
And that,
unbelievable.
and remember when you asked me to be a guest on your show the very first time, I was like, how are you gonna send me that thing again? And you're like, and then you're gonna send it to me my messenger, and then I'm like, okay. And then I think it was 3 days later, and I said, we're still gonna be doing the show, right? I remember I confirmed with you for the second time or something
Amelia,
like
you've
that.
been doing this show for a little while with me now. What's the
Right.
one thing that I hate more than anything?
For people
Not
not to
not only
feel.
that, but one thing I want to. Oh, I'm sorry. One thing I want to bring up. Not only
Uh,
that, but if you do go on a podcast,
mhm.
be professional. Don't
Thank
Exactly.
you.
don't
Mhm.
don't
Thank you.
take the podcast if you're a guest on the
Mhm.
podcast and try and turn it into your show,
Right. I think I
which
confirmed with
Angelo's
Angelo
done
three
with before.
times.
He's had people on
Yeah.
Mhm.
and he's had guests on, and
Mhm.
these people try and take the show and turn
Uh
it into
huh.
their show.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Angelo, I think
Now,
you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Amelia
Uh huh.
answered the question that I had.
Uh huh. I think I confirmed with you three times. Then I was
Exceedingly well.
me that confirmed
And
it with
here,
you.
and here's the biggest pet peeve I have with this show.
Mhm.
The biggest pet peeve I have with this show, and I asked her the question, she answered it.
Mhm.
And it's as simple as this.
Mhm.
If you say you're going to be here, be
Be
here.
here. Yes.
That's the one thing. Thankfully,
Mhm.
Amelia and I are professionals. And thankfully, I got friends like Mike Murphy who will jump in here at a moment's
Mhm.
notice.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm very blessed that way. I've got people that'll. But remember, Amelia, I said to you today,
Yes.
I said, you know what?
I don't know about
I'll get.
blessed, but
I said I'll get somebody for tonight. I'll get
Mhm.
somebody.
Yeah.
And what a great subject too.
Yeah. And there was
What
one
a
show that
great
you and I
subject.
had to do by ourselves, but we did it. We did it together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we pulled
One of
through.
the things I want to talk about also is Mike, you and I have talked about this on another episode. I guess probably a couple of years ago when we had it was you, myself, Dan the Man, and Mike Messier, and we were talking about um, getting yourself over. Now, we're talking about this. That's one thing that we could talk about to nauseum, okay? Getting yourself over. Let me explain to these young smart asses out
More.
there the difference between getting over and being over, okay? You can get yourself over means get over with the crowd. It doesn't mean get yourself over for your sake
Mhm.
because nobody's cheering you for your sake or
right.
booing you for your sake. Getting over with the crowd,
Mhm.
that means what have you done to make them remember you, to hate you, or to love you? Yes, and you can get over as a heel. Yes, you can. If they hate you more when you leave than
Mhm.
when you came in, then you got over as a
Mhm.
heel. But some of these guys are too stupid to understand what getting over and staying over mean. Okay? Being over. Being over will never go away if you do your job well. Mike Murphy was a heel his whole career. These people wanted to kill this fuck, okay? They hated him. Sometimes I hated him. He did it so well. I'm kidding, Murph. No, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Being a heel, getting over as a heel isn't hard. Basically, all you got to be is an asshole. Okay, and I've been an asshole most of my life, so at least in wrestling, I was doing and getting paid for it.
It pays for it. Thank you.
But to get over, to win the crowd over, to have your character tell the story to the crowd in the ring, and then stay in character when you leave the arena.
Yeah,
that's getting over. But to do it, to get over for a show, and I'm getting to an instance here.
Yeah.
I had a guy that I was supposed to wrestle, went by the name of Waikushi, and we were doing a show, and he was supposed to go over. When they announced him, he didn't get that big of a pop. Right. When they announced me, I got a huge pop. And he's like, oh, dude, I got to put you over. And I'm like, no, you will not put me over. I said, I'm putting you over, but we're changing the ending to the match. That way you go over and I get over and the people love the match. That's how a professional wrestler, be it in the indie circuit or the bigs, that's how you get over. What you can do to make the show better.
We have a name for that. We have a name for that in professional wrestling. It's called psychology. Something that's missing today because everybody is so interested in showing off their fancy moves. They've forgotten about psychology. Because why? Why, Murph? Because this is an ego-driven business, and everybody wants to put their. And I love this term, Murph. They all want to get their shit in. I love.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong during a match getting your stuff in or getting some of your special moves. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't go into business for yourself.
Story, Murph. Murph, as long as you're telling the story, I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with getting your shit in as long as you're telling a story and it plays into your character and your story.
Exactly.
But if you're getting your shit in, like, I'll give you a perfect example. A well-known wrestler too, X-Pac. X-Pac doesn't give a shit about psychology. He just wants to get his shit in. That's all. And I think he's a hell of a personality. He's a nice guy. I met Sean Waltman a couple times. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But we disagree on psychology. His whole thing is, gotta get my shit in. Why? They already know what your shit is, Sean. They know what your shit is. You've been wrestling for 35 years. You're not a kid. You're my age. Okay? You're my age, brother. You don't have to get your shit in anymore, baby. It's okay. It's okay, man. It's okay. Oh,
the one thing about unchecked egos that I saw at the tail end of my career was one thing that I was taught to have, that I was taught to have in the business. And that is, have respect for the guys that came before you. And that is something that is lacking seriously in this business. Respect for the people who kick down doors so you can do what you're doing.
And getting paid for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Angela just heard this story. I was doing a show in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. Guy who I'm working, I couldn't tell you his name to save my life, but the guy who I was working comes up to me and I'm sitting there with a referee, Zach Carlucci, one of the greatest refs I've ever worked with.
I know who Zach is.
The
I
guy
don't know
comes up
Zach,
and says,
but I know
"Oh,
who
hey."
he is. Great guy. Zach's
Well, the guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, it's you and me tonight. We're going to do this, this, and this. Then we're going to turn it around, and we're going to do this and this, and then we're going to take it home."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I just looked at this kid, and I said, "Really?" I said, "This is how it's going to go." I said, "We're going to lock up. I'm going to crush you. I'm going to pin you, and then I'm going home." And I picked up, and I was lacing my boots up at the time. I picked up my other boot and I walked away from him, and I could hear Zach Carlucci tell this kid, "Congratulations, kid. You just pissed off the nicest guy in the locker room, and I wouldn't want to be you in that ring tonight."
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And Mike proceeded to squash him like a bug.
I didn't know this kid from a can of paint, and he's going to come into the locker room and he's going to tell me how it's going to go. I would never even dream of telling a veteran, "Hey, this is what we're going to do tonight." Back in the day, you get your ass kicked for that.
Let me tell you about it. People, I want you to listen, people. What he's telling you is in no way bullshit. In fact, there's a very, very famous case involving one Lex Luger and one very large Frank Bruiser Brody. Okay? A young upstart with a great body named Lex Luger proceeded to tell Bruiser Brody what he was going to do with the match. So Lex Luger thinks he's going to tell Bruiser, "Here's what we're going to do, and I'll do this and you'll do that." First of all, if you're in a ring with Frank Bruiser Brody, okay, first of all, there's a couple things you need to be aware of. He's bigger than you and he's faster than you. Number one.
Yep.
Number two, he's stronger than you, can crush you like a bug. That's number two. Number three, he's the star making all the money. And they're there to see him, not you. Okay? There was a other little stipulation that Lex Luger forgot about that night, Murph and Amelia. They were both inside of a 20-foot high steel cage with Bill Alfonso as the referee. Okay? And Frank Bruiser Brody Goodish, whose wife I love, Barbara Goodish, and she's been a guest on this show many, many times, and she's a dear friend of mine. Frank said, "You know what? Okay, watch this." So he pushes this little shit out the way, and he goes like this, folds his arms, and he stands in the corner. And Luger is hitting him. And he's wondering what's happening here. Why isn't he selling for me? First of all, you just told a 20-year veteran in the ring what you're going to do and what he's going to do. It don't work that way, Junior.
No.
It don't work that way.
Yep, that's absolutely right.
Nope.
Absolutely right.
Monty and the Pharaoh are saying this guy was a yes, he sure was, Mike and Jimmy. Mike Murphy was a professional wrestler some 22 years. You have a question for him? Please ask. We're glad to take your questions. Look, I said last night, we support Monty and the Pharaoh. We support Dan and Benny. We support Jim Cornette, Vince Russo. We support all these guys. We've decided we're not in the wrestling business anymore. That's it. So, because of that, I can now be friends with Monty and the Pharaoh, which I'm very happy because I believe it or not, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to surprise people here. I actually like Mike Monty. He's a really nice guy. He really is. So, Mike, there you go. I got no heat with you, brother. So if they have a question for you, Murph, will you answer their question?
I'll answer it if I can.
Yeah.
Where did he wrestle?
Let's see. I started out wrestling for Worldwide Wrestling Alliance.
Was that Dino
I left
Santa?
Worldwide Wrestling Alliance. I went to NCW All Star, which was owned by Angelo. And then
A
I
long
went to
time ago, baby.
SSW Superstar Wrestling,
Yeah.
which is owned by it was owned by the late Mike DiMuzio. It's now owned by a wrestler named Inferno, Corey Gebert.
Now, Mike, Triple WA, Worldwide Wrestling Alliance. So I want to be clear about it because there's a couple of organizations with that name. Was this Dino Santa?
Yes, it was Dino Santa.
How do you guys feel about Sonny? Oh, that's a loaded question. Oh, actually,
well, I had the.
Well, I was going to say she was just involved in a fatal car accident.
Oh no!
In Florida. I believe someone passed away in another vehicle. There's 2 or 3 cars involved. So yeah, I mean, I'm serious. I'm shooting straight with you guys, Mike and Jimmy. I got no heat with you guys. I like Mike a lot, but I guess look, somebody's got to be the scapegoat. Somebody's got to get picked on. I guess that's me. I'm cool with it. So I don't have a problem with that. But so Mike, you're wrestling for Dino, you're wrestling for
Sonny. I had the privilege of meeting Sonny on a show that we did in Atlantic City, and she was a very nice lady. She was there with the late Chris Candido, her husband at the time. Great guy, real easy to talk to.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I had Chris Candido's brother Johnny here, Johnny Ray. He goes by the name Johnny Ray. He was at that show we did at the Sands Casino in Atlantic City, 2001. And Chris Candido saved that show for us. For those of you who don't know what happened, and I'll tell Mike and Jimmy what happened. I'll tell Monty and the Pharaoh. We did a show at the Sands Casino in Atlantic City. Pat Tanaka was scheduled to be on my show. He broke his shoulder in Japan. So I get a telegram that day he's not showing up. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be out, at least out one person. So maybe I'm going to have to finagle things around. Who shows up to the show? Chris Candido and Tammy, Sonny, okay? And by that point, she owned her name. She just bought her name from WWF at the time. And they're wonderful, wonderful people. Sonny was a great woman. She talked to my my ex-wife, now ex-wife, the entire time, and it was a wonderful show. We raised a lot of money for the American Red Cross. So that's what we did, and Chris and Sonny were great people to us. I think it's sad that Sonny has such a troubled history of alcohol and drug abuse. She's obviously not getting what she needs emotionally or mentally. And I hope that there's a doctor or someone out there who can help her, because she really is a sweet girl who I think is seriously misled. I really believe that. So that's how I feel about Sonny, Mike and Jimmy. Amelia, how do you feel about Tammy Stitch, Sonny?
Well, I feel about the same way, and I know that she had some miscommunications with another female wrestler, and I know that she didn't want to be a part of drugs anymore, and I know that she wants to get help, from what I understood.
Yeah. What do you think of, Mike, and I'm going to ask you this question. What do you think of the adult video she did? She did a very explicit adult video. I'm not going to, put down anybody who does things for money, because people do all kinds of things for money. And she wasn't breaking any law at the time. She earned it legitimately. But still, you've got to remember, she's got this history as a WWF diva, WWE diva.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's doing porn. It's the same thing that they kept China out of the Hall of Fame for,
Mm-hmm.
but yet because Sonny did it after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
it's a different story. I'm kind of or I'm mixed bag on that one. I understand both sides of that story. Not sure I agree with the whole punishment. Some people want to take her Hall of Fame away, her Hall of Fame status. She's already sold her Hall of Fame ring. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
She's talked about it. But any other questions that Monty and the Pharaoh have, please fire away. Please fire away. Amelia, questions
Yes.
for Mike Murphy on unchecked egos in wrestling.
Well, I was watching the AEW when the coronavirus was still going on, and they were trying to get it back on the air to kind of get the audience interested again, and they were only allowing like some of the producers on just to kind of like have a little bit of an audience. I don't know if you watched some of that, and you could still hear the ring going back and forth, going back, and you could see. I don't know if you saw some of that, but you could see where they missed their mark and how they were choreographing a lot of that. Did you
Yeah.
ever see part of that?
No, I'll be honest with you. As with AEW, I'm what you would call a Johnny Come Lately, mostly because I didn't really get into AEW at first because I thought, oh well, it's just going to be another Fed who's got some money, and
Mm-hmm.
and it would be short lived. So I didn't really put a lot of stock in it. Then I started watching it, and I started seeing like MJF. I started seeing some of the wrestlers were picking up, and I started getting it. I'm like, okay, hey, they have something here.
Yeah.
During the COVID era, I didn't see a lot of it. But I think what AEW has done is one thing that WWE doesn't do. WWE starts out, they start out and you have 20 to 30 minutes of talking, then maybe you have a match. Where AEW, they start right off the bat with a match.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what we were talking about before, Murph. Oh, by the way, Leon Barfield said, Sonny friended me on Facebook, then tried to sell me porn. When I said no, she blocked me. I'm not surprised, Leon. It sounds like something she would do. And it's really a shame because she is a troubled girl, but she's also a very sweet girl. I will say that. I'm blowing no smoke up anyone's ass. She's a really nice girl. And she's smart. She's intelligent. But she's
Angelo,
sorely misled.
The fact that she did porn, I mean, what a person does take money, that's none of my business. I know.
Exactly.
How they make their living is none of my business.
Yeah, it could be also a cry for help as well.
Can I answer
yes, exactly. It was a cry for help.
Amelia, can I answer your question for you?
Sure, go ahead.
When Jeff, God rest his soul, the late Jeff the Ref, when Jeff the Ref and I started this show, AEW was really coming into its own. We actually started this show probably a year before AEW. Okay. And when AEW came along, we had great hopes for it. Yeah. And I remember saying to Jeff at the time, I said, Jeff, I think professional wrestling is coming back because they were doing things old school and the look was different and it felt different and it was new and fresh. And then they did something, Mike Murphy, that I could kick them for. They turned into WWE.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that I will never understand. I will never understand why of all the people in the world, why are you going to model yourself after Vince? Please. He's making money, but he's also bleeding money like crazy. You know? He's
No, that's
bleeding
true.
millions.
Because we saw it was coming back on the air, and my son's like, "Well, let's watch it, Mom, because look, they're going to have some people on there, at least some people to at least start to cheer him on." Because at first, when they didn't have anybody on, it looked kind of like it was fake, really, really fake. You could, they were so missing their mark, and they thought, well, let's get some people on there so we can start cheering. Maybe it's not going to be as fake, and they won't see us miss the mark as much. But you could still see it. It was so bad. It was so more fake than ever. Even with the people watching them, kind of clap like, "Yeah, go!" It wasn't like back then. Like you could still see a lot of it. That was so bad, missing their mark here. Oh wait, you should on here. You could even hear them say, "Oh wait," you could hear them still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Murph, okay, I'm giving you the book. I'm giving you the pencil. I'm saying Mike Murphy is now the czar of professional wrestling in America. You got that look on your face like, oh shit.
Well, yeah. I don't know if I'd call myself. I'd say I'm far from a wrestling czar. Angela, you got to remember, in the business, I was a ham and egger, man.
Brother, let me tell you something about being a ham and egger, okay? And all those ham and eggers out there, I want you to listen to me. Bam Bam Bigelow called himself a ham and egger, okay? Bam Bam.
Right.
Buff Bagwell called himself a ham and egger. Dusty Rhodes called himself a ham and egger. Ric Flair called himself a ham and egger. Okay? You get where I'm going with this. You know? The ham and egger.
Well, yeah, but I'm a.
The ham and egger, brother, is the backbone of pro wrestling. If it's not for the ham and egger, you don't have superstars.
Yeah, but you know what, Angelo? I was never on the level, nor have I ever claimed to be on the level as a ham and egger of a Dusty Rhodes or a Ric Flair. I would never claim to be that.
My point is very simple, and you're making my point for me. My point is they all started out as ham and eggers. That's my point. And they became who they became through hard work and a little bit of luck. That didn't hurt them.
I had the hard work. I just didn't have the luck.
Well, here's the thing, and that's a very valid point. Look, there are a lot of guys who got incredible talent out there, and I will not take that away from them. And I will never take someone's talent away. But let me tell you something, brother. There's a lot of guys out there who are very gifted, but don't have that boost, that fire under their ass to get them going. They don't have somebody like a Ted Turner or a Tony Khan, or they don't have somebody like oh God, who else? Or like a Bill Bush or somebody like that that's got a little stroke. You know?
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
And that's what saddens me is that you've got a bunch of really, and I'm not going to take anything from the new guys either. A lot of them are ego driven, no question about it. But there's a lot of these new guys that are really, really good, but they'll never see the light of day. They'll never see the light of day. You know what they'll see? They'll see the light of the high school gym. They'll see the light at the armory. They'll see the ring lights of the Levittown Boys Club or the Lansdale Community Center, but they won't see the bright lights of the Garden or or the Wells Fargo Center or whatever the case may be, you know?
Well, you know what, Angelo, and I want to say this. I knew when I got into professional wrestling, I started when I was 30 years old. I started too late. Okay.
Right.
I trained at the Wild Samoans gym under Alpha and Hawaii.
Yep.
I also did some training at the Monster Factory when Larry Sharp owned it. God bless.
I know.
And
I know. Larry was a dear
basically,
friend.
I put myself out there, but I knew I wasn't ever going to make the big time. I knew I was never going to be in WWE or anything like that.
Mhm.
So I took my career in the indies. I made it the best I could. And, you know, for that 5, 10, 15-minute match or whatever I was in, be it at a farmer's market, a high school gymnasium, a rec center, whatever, for that moment in time, for those moments in time, I look at my, hey, I was a star then. Even for only that 15 minutes, I was a star. And I was satisfied with that.
Or in a gambling casino in Atlantic City.
Or, well, you know what? And I tell people the two biggest places that I ever wrestled at was the Sands Hotel Casino in Atlantic City, which unfortunately isn't there anymore.
Yeah, it's all gone.
And
nothing but a memory now, Mike.
In Pennsylvania, the Hamburg Fieldhouse.
That's where the WWF used to do their television tapings. People don't know that.
And I can say that, I mean, you know, I had, when I was with SSW, how many wrestlers can say they had Jimmy the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant as a special guest referee for their match?
Well, not a lot of people. You know, I've met some of the greats. I've shook hands and hung out with some of the greats. And you know what? Sure, my career was strictly in the indies, but you know what? To myself, I had a great career. And I'm not ashamed to say I was in the indies. Bro, and that's the whole thing. Everybody is so intent anymore on becoming a star. They forgot how to be a wrestler. And I hope everybody just heard what I said.
Exactly.
Because I'm going to say it again. Everybody is so intent on being a star, they forgot how to be a wrestler. Okay? It's called professional wrestling on the marquee outside. There's a reason for that.
Check out Eagles at the door.
Because if it was ballet, it would say ballet tonight at the Armory, not wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
You know, Alpha had a sign up in his gym, and it says, "Be careful of the toes you step on today. They may just be attached to the ass that you have to kiss tomorrow."
Exactly.
Great sign.
Exactly. We said that last night.
Exactly.
We said that last night on the show. Talking to Las Vegas entertainer, dear friend of mine, Steve McCoy. I grew up with him. And he said, one of the things that you got to understand, you know, those lips that you kissed on the way up, they're attached to the ass you're going to kiss on the way down.
The way down.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I've burned my share of bridges and I've stepped on some toes, but I never once went to a promoter and complained about another wrestler. I never threw another wrestler under the bus.
Right.
You know, at least unless he, you know, I mean, really deserved it.
Let me tell you the mindset of a pro wrestler, Mike, and you know this to be true. I paid guys better 20 years ago, better than most guys are paying people today.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, agreed.
That's the truth. It's amazing how many people shit on me and threw me under the bus after I just gave them $100 bill.
Yeah.
Okay? Because then they want to come back to you and try to big time you for more money. First of all, motherfucker, that $100 bill you got was out of my generosity. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being part of my show. Thank you for bringing these people into the room tonight.
Yeah.
We got 500 people here. Thank you. You helped.
Mm-hmm.
That $100 bill is not an indication of you're going to get this all the time.
Right.
If you're lucky, you might get more. But if
Mhm.
you're very unlucky, you may leave with a handshake and a coupon from McDonald's.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've done shows where I was handed an envelope where I traveled 4.5, 5, 8 hours. I did my gig, and you know, and I didn't cut out early. I stayed for the whole show, because you never know when they may say, "Hey, we need you on a tearaway or something."
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then got an envelope handed to me, and I open it up, and there's $10 in there.
The rule of thumb, and Mike, you know this to be true. Amelia, here's the rule of thumb.
Mm-hmm.
You never leave your house unless you've got your gear packed in your trunk.
Mm-hmm.
You always have a gear bag packed. In fact, a couple of years ago, Murphy and I went to see a local show here in New Jersey. First thing he says to me, should I take my gear with me? I said, I don't think you're going to need it, but I know it was in his truck anyway. You know?
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
There's the gear bag, and it's packed.
It's packed.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got his tights and his boots and his shirt in there, and I know it. And I know he's got his whole outfit in there. I know. His whole gimmick.
Yep. Because you never know.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, man, this has been a fast hour. Holy
It
shit.
has. Oh my God! Really?
Yeah, and we started exactly 7 o'clock tonight, too.
Oh my gosh! Where did the time
Oh,
go?
that means cookies must be done.
Well, I mean, Mike, you want to hang out for a little bit with us?
Yeah, I'll be able to hang out a little bit.
Good, good. So let me ask you a question. And what do you think about what's going on with the much talked about sale of WWE? Apparently, what they're doing, from what I understand, is they are selling off big chunks of assets.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of this? What do you think they got in mind?
You know, to be honest, I really haven't kept track of it to really have an opinion on it. Last I heard, Dwayne Johnson and some backers were making a bid. That's the last I heard of it, to be honest with you.
Amelia, you know what that's all about, right? We're talking about the Rock and his investors.
Yeah, I heard that he was kind of an investor, but I didn't know who the investor was.
Yeah, he had a couple of money people from Hollywood, some bankers and some Hollywood hotshots. I will tell you, here's what I feel. I do have a little bit of information. The Rock is a serious contender to buy the vast majority of WWE. He's the number one contender because he's got the money and his people have the money to make it happen. I don't think, however, not because of his money or lack thereof, but I don't think Vince McMahon's ego is going to let that happen. Now, tell me if you think I'm wrong.
I think if The Rock bought into WWE, I think you may see a resurgence in professional wrestling.
That's where. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. That's where I'm going with it.
Yes.
That's where I'm going with it. I'm hoping a wrestling person buys it.
Yes.
I'm hoping a wrestling person buys it. I mean, just to show you where Vince McMahon's head is, he's partnering with a guy named Nick. Check the last name out. Nick Khan. Okay.
Yeah, Tony Khan's father, I think.
No relation. No, I checked it out. No relation to the Khan family at all. The other interesting thing that just happened, and this was a head fuck for a lot of people. Cody Rhodes,
Yes.
who pretty much started AEW single-handedly with his brother
Mm-hmm.
and the Young Bucks, he's with WWE again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he loves
Well, they
AEW.
offered,
Here
well, they
is
offered
what,
him a boatload of money. I mean, you know.
well, here it's the money. It was one thing. I want people to follow me on this. Here's what's really at stake. And I'm going to bring my picture up here because I want you to listen to me. Here's what's really at stake because it's important. The Rhodes legacy and the Rhodes name is at stake.
Mm-hmm.
Cody wants to own his father's name, Dusty Rhodes. It's owned by WWE. How
Mhm.
they did that, I will never know because Dusty Rhodes was Dusty Rhodes before WWE. Okay?
Right.
In fact, Dusty Rhodes wrestled for the WWF
Mhm.
in 1974 in Madison Square Garden against superstar Billy Graham. The cowbell match, that famous cowbell match,
Mhm.
it was a fucking bloodbath. It was a bloodbath. One of the greatest cowbell matches ever. In
Mhm.
fact, even forget about that, one of the greatest wrestling matches ever. But you got to remember something, Mike and Amelia. Vince owns the Great American Bash. He owns Starcade.
Mhm.
Okay? Think about that.
Which Dusty came up with.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Cody wants that. That's the deal they made. You come here, wrestle for me. I'll give you this stuff that you want, but it's what you want. Here's what I want. I
Mhm.
want you to leave that company you started and come back home, is what Vince said. Come
Yeah.
back home. Playing on the heartstrings, because let's be honest about it, that's where he started.
Yeah.
And we can't
Yeah.
argue with that.
Yeah,
We
that's
can't
true.
argue with that. That's where he started.
I
You
tell you
know?
what, I saw some of WrestleMania,
I'm
and
sorry.
well, yeah,
I'm sorry,
and
Mike.
I got to tell you, I hate to say this because I was a fan of this man,
Yeah.
Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
In my opinion now, and I know I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this, worst match that I've seen in a long, long time. I mean, I've seen some bad matches, but this was just god awful.
I heard.
Mhm.
I heard they were
If
shitting
you
all
go
over
on
it.
YouTube and watch it, it's actually
Yeah.
to me it's cringeworthy.
You know what's funny? You said those words because that's what someone actually wrote. The
Mhm.
most cringeworthy moment of WrestleMania 38.
Mhm.
Owens Austin. Here's the
Yeah.
funny thing about it. You know me, I'm a historian. I like the backstory. 10 years ago, Steve Austin met Kevin Owens. Owens was a young teenager. He was a fan, right? He was like 17, 18 years old, right?
Yes.
And here's a picture of him and Steve Austin. Here's 10 years later. Now the two of them are wrestling together at WrestleMania. Okay? So don't tell me dreams can't come true. They can come true. But it also tells me be careful of what you dream about and be careful of what you wish for because you just might get it. You know?
Now, Angelo, I got Kevin Owens' story for you.
There you go.
It's no big secret that when I wasn't wrestling, that I would drive a truck. I delivered dumpsters in the local area, construction dumpsters.
Sure.
There's
Everybody's got
a
a shoot job in wrestling. Everybody's got a shoot job.
There's a hall in Upper Darby, PA called the Tower Theater.
Oh my God! Of course, I know it well.
Okay, and
I
in the
saw
Tower
many
Theater, there's
concerts in that.
not a bad place or bad seat in the whole place.
I know it's a great theater.
Well, next door to the Tower Theater is a movie theater, one of those dinner movie theater type places. They were in the process of converting it to that.
Yeah.
And I was switching out one of the construction dumpsters there. Well, NXT happened to be doing a show at the Tower Theater.
Right.
And as I'm, finishing up, switching out the dumpster, I'm getting ready to leave. I see this guy, kind of heavy set, walking with a young lady. He's got a rollaway bag with him, beard, short cropped hair, beard and everything. And to be honest with you, I didn't realize it until I watched NXT one night. It was Kevin Owens.
Saw him on TV. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Kevin Owens. And the funny thing is, I said to him, I said, "How's it going?" He said, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And here the funny thing is I knew by the rollaway bag, and I didn't think he was, well known in NXT. I thought, oh, okay, here's one of the workers.
Yeah. Sure.
And here it was Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, it's remarkable. When you come up with these stories, I stood. Funny how this happened. I stood 5 feet away from Hulk Hogan and never realized it was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of shit that happens to wrestlers. It was at the Airport Marriott in Philly. Okay. They all used to go to the Marriott and have drinks and eat, and a lot of them stayed there at the hotel. Well, I didn't realize it at the time, but I hear these guys talking, and I had my back to them, so I wasn't like facing them. It wasn't until I was getting ready to leave, I got up and turned around, and I realized who the fuck was behind me. Not like maybe 3 to 5 feet. And I looked up, and I kept looking up because I'm a short shit. And he's like, fucking at the time, like 6 foot, like legit 6'10".
Yeah.
Now he's like 6'4" because he lost a lot of vertebrae.
Yeah.
In his back. But yeah, and my head was craning up like this, and I was like, "Damn, you a tall glass of water, ain't you? Holy shit! Damn." But yeah.
The one wrestler that I never met that I wish, and hopefully sometime in the near future, I'll get the chance to, Mark Calloway, The Undertaker.
Taker, yes.
I would absolutely love to meet him.
I watched a show the other night called Hot Wings.
I've seen that one.
I saw The Undertaker with tears down his face because these wings were burning him so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and he's a big boy. He can eat. He can put some food away.
Oh, yeah.
But this little bottle of hot sauce, this fucking big, put him, all 6'10" of him, put him to his knees. Because he was red and crying like a baby. He goes, ooh, and then drinking milk and shit. And he says, "I don't like milk. I like bourbon." You don't want to drink bourbon with hot sauce, brother, because it's just going to intensify it.
It's just going to make it worse.
Exactly. Exactly.
But
So first of all,
he's the one meat I never got a chance to get. And I really would I would love to just sit there with him for like 20 minutes and just pick his brain.
Amelia, how about you? Who's on your go-to list? I mean, I know that, let's be honest about Gino Hernandez is deceased. I'm sure you would have loved to meet Gino, but among the living, who's your go-to now?
Well, I know that I've came up face to face with him, but Gino, when I was younger. But I've actually met Ric Flair. I've talked to him. Me and my sister when we were younger. He actually
I'm
asked me.
sorry.
Yeah.
He actually
So has Murph. Yeah.
he actually asked me and my sister where the concession stands were.
Yeah.
So, and his security was with him. He's like, "Come on, I'm gonna go with these girls." He's like, "We'll go with you, Mr. Flair." He's like, "No, these two girls are not gonna harm me. I'm just gonna go get some popcorn, and I'm gonna buy these girls some soda. Come on, just leave me alone." So they did. So
Yeah.
it was just fun talking to him for those like 10, 20 minutes, and it was just really nice. He was a really nice guy. He really is.
Murph, you want to tell your version of the story?
And and of course Hulk Hogan is not too far from here.
Right.
And of course the Undertaker does live here in Florida.
Yeah.
John Cena, we've seen him walk across the street from where my daughter is one of her stores at Tobacco Depot. So he'd be, I think, a nice person to meet as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is one of the two people. One person also. I did get to meet Nicola Roberts thanks to you, Angelo. That was one of the
Yeah.
people that I did want to meet,
You're welcome.
and that's who I really wanted to meet.
Well, no, not only that, but you got to interview her as well.
I did. I did thanks to you.
Yeah.
So
I've
that's one
been
of the
very
people.
fortunate. I will honestly, I'll tell you, I don't have a wish list or a go-to list because
Mhm.
of being in the business as long as I've been there and
Mhm.
doing the show. I've actually got to meet and talk to almost literally everybody that I wanted to.
Mhm.
I would have loved back in the day. I would have
Mhm.
loved to talk to somebody like Gorgeous George
Mhm.
or somebody like Haystack
Luthez.
Scout.
Yes.
Well, no, Luthez I met, and in fact, I showed the
Mhm.
picture last week.
Mhm.
I showed Amelia. Remember, I showed.
Yes, you did. I
Yeah,
remember that was a great picture.
I showed my pictures with The Rock,
Mhm.
Luthez, Killer Kowalski, the Masked Marvel. Oh my
Mhm.
God, all them. Oh,
Yeah.
way old school. Harley Race.
Mhm.
That was a funny story with Harley.
And I
Um,
think Wahoo McDaniel, I would have liked to have met him, especially
I
introduce him
would
to
have
my
loved to
dad.
met Wahoo. Yeah.
Yes, my
Yeah.
I
dad's
would have
favorite
loved to have
wrestler.
met Gorgeous George. I would have
Yes.
loved to met Haystacks Calhoun.
Mhm.
And maybe I would have liked to meet the guy with the ugliest face in wrestling, the French Angel.
Mhm.
Remember him, Murph, the French Angel? His
Wasn't that Rene Goulet?
No, 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 no. The French Angel had a hideous looking face. In fact, his face is even to this day, his face is the number one selling Halloween mask of
Really?
all time. I want
Hmm.
to see if I can get a picture up for you. Um, let me see the French Angel. Oh God, let me think here. Yeah, Amelia, go ahead and talk to Murph.
Okay.
The French Angel.
No, I had
Here he
the
is. I got him. Hot damn.
Oh, you found it. Well, tell me the Ric Flair story that he
Oh
was
yeah,
his.
I
tell the
was
Flair story.
I was working security at a horror con in New
Uh huh.
Jersey, and my girlfriend at the time was working with me,
Mhm.
and she was on the phone to Indiana at one point. She was on the phone to her sister in Indiana, and I happened to be come walking up, and Ric Flair went into the signing room, and I heard my girlfriend tell her sister, "You'll never guess who just walked by me, Ric Flair." Well, he heard this, and he came out, and because of course he heard his name mentioned,
Mhm.
and he proceeded. And I think he kind of got the hint because he started to try and pick up my girlfriend right in front of me,
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
he would do
and
shit like that.
I'm standing there glaring at him, and I think that's when he got the hint. Oh, that's her old man,
Right.
And then he
Yeah.
just turned and walked into the signing room.
Yeah, I found a picture. I'm going to show it to you.
Okay.
And by the way, he's also famous for something else. Hold on a second. Let me see here. Here we go. This
Excuse
is the
me.
French Angel.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
He's famous for something else, and you're going to see in a moment. He's very hairy, as you can see. But this is his claim to fame. He's
Yeah.
the person
Okay.
they modeled Shrek after him. He
Okay.
had a very large head, and as you can see, he had very short arms.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
I hope his family's getting royalties.
I know, right? They
Actually,
should.
they are.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, that is the French angel. And then look at this, Murph. He's got
Looks like-
George the Animal Steel's body
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and Shrek's head. Look at them cauliflower ears, brother.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a Bigfoot love child.
I'm telling you, right? Yeah, that's the French angel. He's the person that Shrek was modeled after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's for real.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So let's talk about what's going on with you, Murph. Where can people get a hold of you? How can if anybody wants to book you for for anything, they got something for maybe a ring announcer or a special guest referee, battle royal. How can they get a hold of you?
I can be found on Facebook. That's about it. I mean, my wrestling career, if I do anything, I'll do like a charity show or something like that.
Right.
Like I said, I can be found on Facebook.
Under Michael Murphy.
Under Michael Murphy, yeah. And that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Terrific. Amelia, where can people reach you? How can they get a hold of your social?
My Facebook is Amelia Valerio Chapman, or Gmail is aachap70@gmail, or they can reach me here with you on Tuesday and Thursday nights.
And you can reach Amelia at wrestlingwiththefuture@gmail.com. If you've got questions or you want her phone number or you want to ask her out on a date. And if you owe her money, you can
yeah, that's right.
you can reach her at wrestlingwiththefuture@gmail.com. Send checks payable to Angelo DeCipio, treasurer. And as far as you can reach me at a bunch of places. You can reach me at Mad Dog DeCipio on Facebook and that Twitter, Mad Dog DeCipio. You can reach me at Angelo Thomas DeCipio, also on Facebook, or any one of our pages, Wrestling with the Future page on Facebook, Talk is Cheap podcast page on Facebook. You can reach us on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. We've got
Instagram. Instagram as well.
Instagram. I forgot about that. We have an
Yes.
Instagram. I keep forgetting.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, on TikTok.
Mhm.
Wrestling with the Future on TikTok. And it is at Wrestling with the Future on TikTok.
Mhm.
You're not going to find any wrestling stuff, but you'll find a shitload of food because I like collecting food stuff. I'm a foodie.
And if you want to pay Angelo and since you owe him money, people.
Yes,
There you go.
exactly. If you owe me money, address the envelopes care of Michael Murphy, Lansdale, Pennsylvania.
I would say if you want to date Angelo, but I don't know if they'd like that.
Yeah, right. So on behalf of Mike Murphy Armageddon, on behalf of Amelia Valerio Chapman, I am Angelo, the Mad Dog DeCipio. Join us again each and every Tuesday and Thursday for Talk is Cheap, for Wrestling with the Future, and Monday nights, tune in to Pete Wilcox right here on the WWTF network for Having Coffee with the King, a devotional walk with Jesus. Take care, everybody. We love you. Good night.
Good night, folks.